We're very happy to be here tonight and welcome just an astounding drummer. His name is Ben Smith. He plays with Heart, the band Heart, so all you people that are around my age know that band very well. They're being in concert tomorrow night with Def Leppard, so I will be there. You guys should get tickets. I'm sure there's some lawn seats available. So, but anyway, he's been with Heart since 1994. He's played with various artists in the music industry, and he can touch on a few of those if he wishes. But without further ado, Mr. Ben Smith.
Thanks, Chris. How's everybody doing? Good. It's loud, too loud? You guys okay with loud? I played pretty loud. I'll warm up a little bit, and then we'll talk. One thing that I'd love to hear from people is, as we move on to the next hour and change, I'd love to hear questions. So if there are any people who are far enough along in their sort of musical journey that want to know the answers, my answers to questions about music or touring or travel or the music business, try to remember what those are, because that's always the most fun for me, is seeing what people like to know about. gosh. Let's see, I'll give you a little background on myself. I've been playing for a long time. I'll be 53 years old in a couple weeks. Hard to believe. I came up in Seattle, Washington. I'm kind of a West Coast person, although I lived in New York for 8 years, and that's where I sort of started to figure out what it took to become a professional musician. So I played all kinds of music, but the stuff I really glued onto early on, I went to more black high schools in the Seattle area. So I loved 70s funk and blues, and I played less jazz. I wish I had a chance to play a little more jazz in my career, although I have had a chance to do some. You know, I grew up, the bands that were hot in those days were bands with names like Earth, Wind and Fire, and you know, who else was great in those days? Parliament Funkadelic, and the Ohio Players, and the Gap Band, and these other bands had huge hits on the radio back then. But the thing that I realized really early on is what I loved were the people who did the recordings. Because there was something about that I really dug. I've never been a guy, although when I had a chance to move to New York, I studied and started to put some of the pieces of different kinds of music together. I've never felt like I was a guy I'd call to do a 20-minute drum solo. You know, the kind of thing I like to do is support a group, support a band, and come up with a song that feels good and sounds good. And in my experience, that's what makes good musicians. And not necessarily the ability to play a million notes, although somebody dropped a line on me. There's a guy I know who actually wrote commercials for a long time in Los Angeles, but he gives his kids this line, which I think is a great line, which is "Luck smiles on the prepared," which I think is awesome. If you want to sort of expand your range as a musician, and especially if you want to be somebody that gets called more than once to go play with a group of guys, it's really important to do homework. Like, do your footwork. And we work with the tempo, and often in the recording studio, we'll work with a metronome or a click track. How many guys have heard of a click track? So, there's a lot of theories about a click track. If you get used to using a metronome track all the time, you can really use it as a crutch. And when you go play with a band live, lots of guys that use a click track live on the level that I'm on, a lot of us have done TV or done live DVD shoots and stuff, and what you don't want is even minor fluctuation during a song if you can avoid it. But we're all humans, right? Time moves around. I've been on a Led Zeppelin kick recently listening to John Bonham. And man, it's amazing the licks and the accents and stuff that he missed in those tunes, and the way the tempo fluctuates. But the guy was so musical and so talented, and they work together so well that it doesn't matter. So to be accurate tempo-wise is really important, but not if you lose vision of how to support the song or working with people who are really musical. So I use my hi-hat all the time as a little motor and a timekeeper for myself. And if you see professional drummers play, often you'll see their foot move all the time. It's just like you watch a guitar player play, often their toe will be tapping like crazy the whole time. With drummers, you'll often see their heel move. Or if they're playing a groove with the right cymbal, they'll be kicking time, you know what I mean? And so there's two reasons for that. One is so that when drummers play a fill, if you're keeping time, classic drummer thing is you play a fill, you plan it out in advance, you really get ready for it, you play the fill. After you're done playing the fill, you're nowhere near where the beat of the song is, because you were working really hard to play your fill. And so the guys who I love are the guys who play super simple fills, really concentrate on playing parts that have the right attitude and keep great time, and they use their hi-hat to do that. And this is how that looks for me. So if I'm playing a song and it's kind of medium, sort of groove feel, and I'm playing with a band live or in the studio, I'll count it like this. I'll go 1, 2, 1, and So, kind of the thought is, for me, how to keep things moving in a fun way, so it doesn't get boring or too stiff. How to figure out the right kind of volume that's good for a section of a song. And just because something gets quiet doesn't mean it has to slow down. It took me 20 years to learn that, I swear. I would play with friends who go, okay, great, soft, but why are you dragging? I'm not dragging, it's you, man.
Thank you.